Hello students, today we are going to discuss about polymorphism in coelenterates. I am Dr. P. Rosina George, Assistant Professor in Zoology, St. Joseph College for Women, Autonomous, Visakhapatnam. We'll be discussing about the introduction of polymorphism, basic body form in Cnidaria, what are the patterns of polymorphism, polypoid zooids, different medusoid forms, notable polymorphic colonies, origin of polymorphism, and the biological significance of polymorphism. By the end of this topic, you will be able to define and explain the concept of polymorphism in coelenterates with suitable examples such as Obelia. You can distinguish between polyp and medusa forms. You will be able to identify and describe different types of zooids and their specific functions. You can analyze the concept of division of labor in polymorphic colonies and its role in survival and efficiency. You can evaluate the biological and evolutionary significance of polymorphism in coelenterates. Let's dive into the topic. In Greek, polyp means many and morph means form. So coelenterates of phylum Cnidaria are simple aquatic animals showing tissue-level organization and radial symmetry. A remarkable feature in many cnidarians is polymorphism, especially in colonial forms. So polymorphism refers to the occurrence of more than one type of individual in the same species or colony, each specialized for a specific function such as feeding, reproduction, or defense. It is well developed in hydrozoans like Obelia and Physalia physalis. If we talk about the basic body forms in Cnidaria, Cnidarians exhibit two fundamental morphological forms. One is polyp, other is medusa. Polyps, they are cylindrical sessile forms where mouth is directed upward and they are adapted for feeding and asexual reproduction. Examples are like Hydra, like stage in Aurelia, and Medusa forms, they are umbrella shaped, free swimming forms, and mouth is directed downwards and they are adapted for sexual reproduction. Examples are adult jellyfish stage. When both forms occur in a life cycle, it is called metagenesis, or we can call it as alternation of generations. Now there are different patterns of polymorphism. The degree of polymorphism varies greatly in different groups of hydrozoa, like the dimorphic forms. These are the simplest and commonest form patterns of polymorphism, which is exhibited by many hydrozoan colonies like Obelia, Tubularia, etc. They have two types of individuals or zooid, namely gastrozoids or hydrants, which are used for feeding, gonozoids or blastocyles with asexual budding forming sexual medusae or gonophores. This kind of phenomenon is termed as dimorphism. Then there are trimorphic forms where besides gastrozoids and gonozoids, they also possess a third type of individual, the dactylozoids. In polymorphic forms, animals have more than 3 types of individuals. Somewhat greater degree of polymorphism is found in the encrusting colony of Hydractinia with 5 types of polyps, each performing a specialized functions. Like gastrozoids for feeding, dactylozoids are there for protection, tentaculozoids are for sensory functions, skeletozoids, which are the spiny projections of chitin, gonozoids, which are reproductive individuals. These are certain examples like Obelia, Hydractinia, Physalia, Velella, Chelicophora, Siphonophora, etc. Polypoid zooids are gastrozoids, dactylozoids, and gonozoids. Gastrozoids, these are the nutritive polyps and they alone take up nutrition of the entire colony. If you see this picture, a mouth is present at the tip of the hypostome. Near the base of a gastrozoid, usually a single long and contractile tentacle arises. It shows nematocysts. Lateral branches are present which are called tendilia. Gastrozoids catch the prey and digest it. The digested food is thrown into the sinosarcal canal. The gastrozoid exists in the following modified forms, like siphon. It is a polyp form but without normal tentacles. Siphon is the only member of the colony which can ingest food. Siphonozoids may remain scattered or may be limited to rachis. Usually, they are located on the dorsal side of the rachis in between the leaves. Then gastrozoids of Millipora, uh, in them many gastropods protrude out from the polyp, each polyp with 4 to 6 tentacles and nidoblast buds are present. Dactylozoids are also called palpons, feelers, or tasters. They resemble the gastrozoids. They do not show mouth and their basal tentacle is unbranched. In Physalia, the tentacle is very long. In Velella and Porpita forms, the margin of the colony bears long and hollow tentacles. And these zooids are protective in function. They bear batteries of nematocysts. The dactylozoids exhibit different structural variations, like tentaculozoids. The margin of the colony bears long, hollow, and tentacle-like defensive dactylozoids, which are called tentaculozoids. The spiral zooids are tubular-shaped with nidocytes and adhesive cells. In Hydractinia, the spiral zooids with capitate tentacles remain scattered throughout the colony. The nematophores are usually with club or capitate ends beset with nematocysts or adhesive cells or both. Palpons in some forms like Chondrophora, it consists of simple hollow tentacle-like bodies which spring from the margin of the body. Cystons, these are present in Siphonophora. A distal pore is present in the dactylozoid, which we call it as cyston, and it is excretory in function. Then there are dactylozoids of Millipora, which are long filamentous mouse-less dactylozoids with irregularly disposed tentacles. This is the colony of Hydrectinia, which is showing all the different kinds of zooids like gastrozoid, dactylozoids, tentaculozoids, gonozoids, etc. Gonozoids are the reproductive forms of zooids. They have no mouth. Like in some forms like Phycelia, the gonozoid shows branched stalk bearing clusters of gonophores, or we can also call them as gonopalpon. In gonozoids, uh, they produce medusae called gonophores. In the Porpita and Velella forms, dactylozoids are treated as gonodactylozoids. There are certain modifications like gonocephon, gonodendron-like structures which looks like grape-like clusters of gonophores, then gonopalpons. Then there are certain special zooids like gonostyles or secondary siphonozoids. These gonoids remain attached with the sapphinozoids. In Obelia, the hydrorhiza acts as the organ of attachment for the whole colony, whereas uh, the hydrocoelus, which arises from the hydrorhiza, it bears different zooids and helps to convey the food matters to the different parts of the colony. If we see the medusoid forms, there are different types of medusoid forms like pneumatophores, nectopore or nectocalyx, or we can also call them as swimming zooids, bracts, gonophores, etc. Some medusoid forms are like pneumatophores. It functions as a float and it looks like an inverted medusan bell. The walls are two-layered and highly muscular. The epidermal lining becomes glandular to form a gas gland, and the gas gland secretes gas into the air sac. The pneumatophore is small in helistemma, but it is very large in Phycelia, and it is a disc-shaped like structure in Porpita forms. This is a picture of Phycelia physalis colony, which shows the pneumatophore, a gas-filled float, which plays a very important role in positive buoyancy, which is used as a sail to catch the wind in Phycelia. Then there are other structures which you can see as gastrozoids, tentacular palpins, gonodendrons, which are also the part of Phycelia. In Agalma, the air sac is lined by a chitinous layer which is secreted by the epidermis, which also forms a funnel-shaped trachea or funnel. The epidermis forms two layers and the gas gland secretes the gas. Then there are other structures like nectopore or nectocalyx, or we can call them as swimming zooids. Nectocalyces or nectophores are bell-shaped medusoids with a velum, radial canals, and circular canals. They have no mouth uh, or manubrium or tentacles or any kind of sense organs. A nectocalyx is muscular and brings about locomotion of the colony by swimming. It is also called as nectophore or nectozoids. Bracts are also known as hydrophilia. They are leaf-like structures, or they look something helmet-shaped structures. They serve to cover and protect other zooids of the colony. Whereas gonophores, these bear gonads. Like male gonads produce sperms and female gonads produce ova. These are the pictures of obelia or colony with 3 hydrands and 2 gonophores. Hydrozoans exhibit remarked development of polymorphism. Some of the notable polymorphic colonies are Physalia, Helistemma, Porpita. Physalia is commonly called as floating pelagic colonian forms. The medusa is modified into a big pneumatophore or float which floats above the water. The underside of the float has cormedia. Each cormedium consists of a small dactylozoids with a long slender tentacle, a large dactylozoid with an enormous nematocys which bears fishing tentacles. A branched gonozoid with male and female gonophore is present. Helistemma is a floating form with long, thin peduncle having different zooids. Pneumatophore is at first anterior end of peduncle and helps the animal float on the surface bottom of the water. The bottom of the float has asymmetric medusa, which are called nectocalyces, which help in locomotion. Each nectocalycis is with nodes and bell-shaped. Manubrium is absent in them. Porpita has medusoid disc like large nematophore and chitinous shell with many concentric gas chambers. On the ventrocentral region is a single large gastrozoid which is surrounded by clusters of small gonozoids which bear sexual medusae. On the edge of it, tentacle-like dactylozoids are armed with nematocys. Now let's discuss about the origin of polymorphism. There are many theories to explain the origin of polymorphism in coelenterates. One is polyorgan theory. This theory was proposed by many scientists in different time periods. According to this theory, a polymorphic colony is supposed to be a single medusoid zooid. Its various components are regarded to be the modified organs of this medusoid zooid. The various parts of the zooid, that is manubrium, tentacles, umbrella, etc., multiply independently from one another and they have assumed different forms to perform different functions. Then came polyperson theory. This theory was first proposed by Leucart, then many other scientists were also suggested this theory, and it was later strongly supported by Haeckel, Balfour, and Sedgwick. According to this theory, colony is not a single individual, but various parts of the colony are modified individuals which have changed their structure due to division of labor. They have all modified from the primitive zooid, which was a polyp. This theory was proposed by Haeckel as a compromise between the above theories. Medusa theory says that the sapphinophores formed from gastrula was a medusoid individual from which zooids or persons appeared by budding from the subumbrella. Now let's see the biological significance of polymorphism. The colony shows division of labor. That means different zooids specialize in feeding, reproduction, defense, which increases the overall efficiency of the colony. Better survival is seen with defensive zooids protecting the colony, and feeding zooids ensure proper nutrition for the colony. Dedicated reproductive zooids increase reproductive output. Then floating forms adapt to pelagic life. Sessile colonies efficiently utilize resources, which shows the ecological adaptation. Then there is evolutionary advancement, which represents transition towards functional specialization, where colony acts as an integrated biological unit. So to conclude, polymorphism in coelenterates is a key evolutionary adaptation that allows functional specialization and division of labor within a colony. It enhances survival, reproductive success, and ecological adaptability, making organisms like Obelia and Physalia highly efficient and successful in aquatic environments. Now take a break and answer these questions. The presence of different types of zooids performing specialized functions within the same colony is referred to as? The answer is polymorphism. In colonial coelenterates like Obelia, which zooids are primarily responsible for feeding? The answer is gastrozoids. These are some of the references and web links for this particular topic. Thank you so much.